Cubs all-star catcher Willson Contreras said that getting to free agency would be a dream come true. What the heck does that mean? We dive in on an all-new Locked On Cubs coming at you now.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good morning, Locked On Cubs family. Happy Wednesday to you. Welcome on into Locked On Cubs. This is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Andrew Bellison, former public address announcer at Wrigley Field, now proud to be part of the Locked On Cubs family. Thank you for taking the time each and every morning, whether you're on your way to work, to school, at home making breakfast, taking care of the kids, getting the dogs out, for making Locked On Cubs your first listen of the day. We appreciate you more than you know, especially during that lockout. You stuck with us. Now it's back to baseball. We love you. So thank you. Honestly, spending the morning with you. Got a nice cold brew here, Nitro. Spending the morning with you is one of my favorite parts of the day. So thank you so much. Please check us out on Twitter. Join us on social media. Love interacting with you guys at Chicago Cubs PA, at Locked On Cubs. And the show, Locked On Cubs, has a really cool YouTube channel. So you can watch me babble instead of just hearing me. So much fun. Check us out, Locked On Cubs YouTube. We'd love you to subscribe. Really good stuff there. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Camp is finally underway yesterday, first official day, Monday rather, first official day. We've got news, nuggets, and notes from Mesa, my favorite part of spring training, the daily goings-on and the happenings as things unfold towards the season. Also, reporters in Mesa spoke with Cubs all-star catcher Willson Contreras the other day. Did you see what he said? This peeves me a little bit. We'll hop into that as well. But first, the 2022 schedule as affected and changed by the CBA. So we had a weird offseason. We had the lockout. Now we have the new CBA, delayed start to the 2022 season. So what's different about the schedule this year, and how is it going to affect us fans and our favorite team? We need to know all this stuff, and I want to let you know. Jason Stark of The Athletic did a great piece on this the other day, kind of highlighting the changes for the year. So I want to run through those with you a little bit because they're fairly drastic. I want to make sure you guys are aware of this to have a better understanding of what the makeup of the Cubs schedule is going to look like, both regular season and spring training here in 2022. This is everything you need to know. So as you know, series were canceled as the lockout rolled on before the new CBA. So this is uncanceled games 1.0, we'll call them. Commissioner Manfred and the league canceled a chunk of games before the new CBA was agreed upon. Remember that? Where did those games go? The games that were originally supposed to serve as the opening series of the year will now become the final series of the year. Got that? In other words, instead of being played March 31st through April 3rd, those series now go to the back end of the entire schedule and will be played October 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So the season now ends on October 5th instead of October 2nd. Capiche? All but 4 of those series were division matchups. So that part was relatively uncomplicated. The Cubs are going to now close the regular season, fast forward way ahead to October, with 3 games against the Phillies and 3 games against the Reds rolling into October. That's how they'll conclude. That's where those 2 early first series of what should have been the beginning of the year went. They're now on the back end. Okay, uncanceled games 2.0. Moving the first set of series to the end of the season turned out to be the simple part of the equation in terms of the mumble-jumble schedule because of the lockout. The hard part was what to do about rescheduling every team's second canceled series. Again, fortunately, 11 of those 15 involved teams playing with their own division. So in terms of travel and logistics, it makes things pretty easy. Those games are more easily rescheduled as doubleheaders or on mutual off days. And again, remember the doubleheaders. No more 7 innings, full 9-inning games as part of the new CBA. Here's the really impressive part, deserving of a round of applause. Really, we should appreciate what baseball did here by recognizing what it didn't do. What it didn't do is go down the rocky scheduling path that followed the strike year in 1995. That year, every team played the same number of games, 144, because they lost games because of the strike. But in that 95 season, Major League Baseball gave up on having all teams in a division play the same schedule and just dropped in random games. So at least every team would wind up playing the same total of 144. So amazingly, this will not be repeated. Thank goodness. There will be strange road trips and indefinite doubleheaders, of course. But in the end, every team will play exactly the same opponents and each of them the same number of times as in the original schedule. So Major League Baseball, although, we had quite a mess this offseason, the scheduling department, hats off to you. So thank you. Does your brain hurt yet? Because there's more. So hang on tight. How will the postseason schedule change? This is a biggie. The wild card round was now going to expand from 1 game to best of 3. I've been in favor of that for a long time. It gives the better team its best chance to avoid a fluke and come out on top. This is the most ridiculous of this all. Fox was telling Major League Baseball, Fox Television Network, this is insane, was telling Major League Baseball it couldn't budge from the original World Series dates. So here is how Major League Baseball pulled this off. The fact that the league had to react to the television network is asinine, but here's how they pulled this off. Luckily, the tentative postseason schedule had already built in the likelihood of expanding the playoffs. Okay, so they were kind of planning for that to potentially happen. So instead of starting the World Series on the traditional Tuesday, Major League Baseball had the option of starting it on a Thursday or a Friday. That built in an extra day or two, or actually 2 or 3 day buffer that made this doable. So the wild card series will be scheduled to begin with no travel days on Friday, October 7th. And by squeezing an extra off day out of at least one of the other rounds, the World Series will still be able to begin on Friday, October 28th and end on Friday, November 4th. On October 27th through November 3rd, World Series could still be an option, but Major League Baseball is studying whether that's possible. I will say this. If you recall, turn the clock back to 2016. Early November weather in 2016 in Chicago, when the Cubs became World Series champions that week, was strangely nice. Do you recall that parade day too? Gorgeous weather. So we happen to have World Series in Chicago on the north side of town. We might be okay with weather in early November. Okay, so regular season makes sense, sort of, right? Stay with me on this one. What about spring training? Well, in Arizona, it's pretty easy. Baseball has tried to craft a cactus league in Arizona the last several years that has all 15 Arizona-based teams playing home and home exhibitions against every other team. With a maximum now, though, this year of 18 games, that's not possible. So the schedule is all new, but really convenient because it turns out that the drive from Phoenix to Scottsdale remains slightly more time efficient than, say, the drive from Tampa to pretty much anywhere else in Florida, as the grapefruiters have to deal with down south. So Cubs players and fans and Cactus League teams have it much easier than those grapefruiters do in Florida. Logistically, it's always been that way, no question, especially when you're trying to cram as many games as possible into a short amount of time. True in even a normal year, no doubt. Okay, so we have a better understanding of what the overall schedule looks like in 2022. Let's turn the page then now to 2023. How will everything change in 2023? You might have missed this announcement in the labor deal details if you're focused on other things like tax thresholds, et cetera, et cetera. But this is a development that will make an impact on literally every team in 2023. Unbalanced schedules are out. Playing every team in baseball again is in. Yes, the 2023 schedule will cut back on rivalry games. In their place, teams are going to play an NBA-like kind of schedule that involves facing all other 29 clubs, including every one of the 15 in the other league. Say what? Clubs play all 4 teams in their division 14 times. Currently, they're at 19 against divisional opponents. So that means 1 3-game series and 1 4-game series each, both home and road, moving forward after this year. Those non-division teams within your league, you'll play them 6 times apiece, 3 at home, 3 on the road. Current totals right there still now at 6 or 7. But interleague schedule, here's how this works. Every team plays its interleague rival, Cubs, White Sox, Mets, Yankees, et cetera, 4 times, 2 at home, 2 on the road. I like that. Scale back on that a little bit. I'm okay with that. Crosstown thing to me is it's fun, but 2 and 2 is good. Current total right now is 4 or 6 games, depending on the season. As for the other 14 teams in the opposite league, you'll play 3 games against every one of them. Half are at home, half are on the road. Then that will flip the following year. So say you're a Mike Trout fan. If you miss Trout in your National League city in 2023, he visits the next year. You get the picture? So the current total now is 3 or 4 games each versus either 4 or 5 non-rival interleague opponents. Why are they doing this, you ask? Well, entertainment and marketing for one thing. It's an attempt in an increasingly regionalized sport to allow fans in every city to see their team play against every team and every star in the other league at least once a year. Also, with the new wildcard teams added to the mix, it does make the schedule more comparable for teams fighting for those spots, which is fair and does make sense as well. So there you go. Schedules are always complex, even more so in times like this. The balanced schedule thing, it's going to be a little bit different, but I think we need to keep an open mind to that. We're going to get to see some awesome players a la Mike Trout, some of those West Coast teams that we don't see in the American League every other year now, which really, when you open your mind to it, might be kind of cool. Different, yes, but listen, Pirates, Cubs, Reds, 18, 19 times a year, you start to be a little much. So new schedule after 2022 could be, I don't know, we'll call it a little more fun. We'll see how it goes when we get there. But I hope that helps. We wanted to give you answers as best as we could, and I hope you have a better understanding now of where things stand. Did you see, Locked On Cubs family, what Willson Contreras told Cubs reporters the other day? It bugged me, and I'll share that information next. Before I do, are you ready to discover your purpose and leave an impact wherever you go? Mission Possible, written and read by New York Times bestselling author and athlete Tim Tebow, encourages you to find your inspiration, purpose, pursue your purpose, and create a life for yourself that counts. Ignite a new spark in your life through this new inspirational listen. Mission Possible by Tim Tebow is available everywhere audiobooks are sold. Willson Contreras discussion here on Locked On Cubs momentarily. Welcome back into Locked On Cubs. I'm your host, Andrew Bellison. Thank you for taking the time to be with us here on a beautiful Wednesday morning. Happy Wednesday to you. Ask that you please check us out on YouTube, our Locked On Cubs YouTube page. We'd love to have you as a subscriber. Check us out on social as well, at Chicago Cubs PA, at Locked On Cubs. Thank you for taking the time to make us your first listen each and every morning. Locked On MLB Prospects host Lindsey Crosby is a prospect encyclopedia, and he's going deep on the MLB stars of tomorrow. Check it out. Locked On MLB Prospects, free and available wherever you download your favorite cast, just like Locked On Cubs. So, camp officially opened Monday. We're rolling now, baby. Better late than never, right? Willson Contreras, I talked a lot about the Cubs All-Star catcher during the lockout and how important I thought it was for the Cubs organization to extend him and lock him up and keep him on the north side. Him and Yan Gomes, who was signed before the lockout, make arguably the best 1-2 catching tandem in all of Major League Baseball. You need a guy like Willson around. He's the heart and soul. He's a phenomenal catcher, both offensively and behind the plate. That arm, I mean, come on. Now with the designated hitter slot, you have the opportunity to keep his legs healthier and therefore keep him more fresh as the season goes on. On this topic, they asked him, reporters, about the designated hitter, and he said, I think it's really good to have the DH in both leagues. Willson also said, if I'm going to play DH this year, it's going to help me a lot with my legs. Take my rest, take my days off, and stay healthy. That's the main thing for me. No question. He's had those nagging leg injuries. Get him out from behind the plate. You've got a phenomenal 2 option to combat the 8 or 9 catchers that the Cubs ran through last year. And if you can keep Willson more fresh throughout the season by getting him away from behind the plate, but keeping him, having his at-bats and have his offensive production, that's win-win-win. Now, Willson spoke to reporters the other day upon arriving at camp and was asked about his extension talks. Here's what he said. No, there haven't been any talks. I'm good with it. They know what they're doing. They know what's best for the team. I'm here because I love my team. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. He went on to say, I'm always open. You know me. I'm not focused on that. I'm focused on having a good year, having fun with my team, and trying to win. I love this sentiment. I'm a Contreras guy. I've preached about locking him up for months. I love the way he plays the game. I love his hot dog attitude. I love his leadership, yada, yada, yada. But did you hear what he also said? Contreras said he's not looking to leave the Cubs, but also referred to free agency as a dream come true, an opportunity he's worked hard for after working his way up from an overlooked prospect who converted to catcher 10 years ago and was left unprotected for the Rule 5 draft twice. Okay, I get it. You've got a chip on your shoulder. Let me say it again. Free agency would be a dream come true. A dream come true? What the heck does that even mean? That's a bad look, is it not? Or tell me, Locked On Cubs fam, tell me, am I reading too much into this? Should I not feel this way? Listen, I get exactly what he means. The guy's worked his butt off and has been doing so for the last 10 plus years to make it as one of the better catchers in the league, if not the game as a whole. Coming here from Venezuela, making a better life for himself, making a better life for his family. It's admirable as hell. I respect the you-know-what out of it. Nothing but respect there. But to come into camp after the lockout and say that free agency would be a dream come true, but at the same time, your focus is still on the Cubs and you're happy to be here, conflicting sentiments to me that it just doesn't jive. And I'm not going to lie. To have your star catcher say free agency would be a dream come true, that stings, man. What's the bottom line for me? I hope they do lock him up. I hope he wants to be here. I hope he does what's best for him. And maybe the Cubs haven't been open and communicating about an extension with him. We don't know. He said that they haven't reached out. Maybe that was a subtle jab at the organization saying free agency would be a dream come true. If that's the case, good for him for sticking up for himself. We don't know all the details, maybe. The whole thing just seems off to me. You got a great catcher that can be helped with the introduction of the designated hitter to the National League, and you still have him playing out the final year of his deal with no extension. What's the old NL Central adage that we've all watched and said for years and years with Yadier Molina behind the plate for the Cardinals? And I'm not making a comparison, but I am, because I feel like Willson is, in a tier below Yadi, maybe in their prime, but still one of the better catching options in baseball. Oh, that's right. Yadier Molina type catchers don't grow on trees. I'm just saying. Whole thing's weird. With the Cactus League officially underway now, we've got Bullets, Notes, and Cubs Nuggets coming up next. Want to remind you real quick before we get there that this episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing number of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local auto chain and your local dealer to stock all the parts you might need for your car or truck. So check out rockauto.com. You'll save time and money when using Rock Auto. Why spend 30, 50, 100% more for the same parts when you can go to rockauto.com and get them for much, much less? They're a family business serving do-it-yourselfers just like you and I for over 20 years. Rock Auto prices reliably low for every single customer. They have everything you could need: brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, even automotive carpet. Go to rockauto.com today. See all the parts available for your car or truck. Write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so that they know we sent you. Amazing selections, reliably low prices, all the parts you'll ever need, only at rockauto.com. Locked On Cubs rolls next. Welcome back into Locked On Cubs. I'm your host, Andrew Bellison. Thank you for being with us today. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Happy spring. Happy post-lockout. Happy baseball is back. Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. So, with spring training in full swing, we've got news and notes to report on the daily. And this is one of my favorite things, to see how spring training unfolds. We don't get the full picture this year because we lost about a month from when pitchers and catchers should have reported until now, but better late than never, and better to get there now than not get there at all. I love the daily goings on of spring training. Let's start with the designated hitter. Reporters caught up with David Ross. We talked about getting Contreras some DH ABs. What's Ross's take on the designated hitter? Manager David Ross sees things going. The Cubs will have a revolving door in the designated hitter role this season, as many NL clubs will, I would assume, as they kind of get acclimated into having this a regular part of the lineup. Ross will want to mix and match players in the slot based on matchup, rest, and other factors. As he said, it gives us some more flexibility, right? I'm sure that'll be an ever-changing spot of who's swinging the bat well and who needs rest. I like that. Got a lot of candidates there who can be penciled in to be a DH on any given day. Love that it's not going to be a set player. Ross noted that outfielder Ian Happ, who's working his way back from a little bit of a right elbow issue, could be used as a DH early in the season. Also, as we mentioned, catchers Willson Contreras and Yan Gomes could see time in the slot as well, in terms of when the other might need rest. How about on the mound? Kyle Hendricks tossed a live BP session the other day to a handful of hitters, noted that he and Tommy Hotovy, Cubs pitching coach, got to work right away as soon as the lockout was lifted. They will be surely hard at work the rest of spring as Kyle Hendricks looks and hopes to have a bounce back year. How about some other nuggets worth noting? After Hendricks completed his mound workout, lefty Justin Steele threw around 25 pitches in another live BP session against Contreras, Patrick Wisdom, Frank Schwindel, and Sergio Alcantara. Said David Ross, he looked good. Everybody looked good. I was bouncing back and forth. I caught the back end of Steele's workout, but I heard the velocity was there. That looked good. Breaking ball was sharp, end quote. Good news for one of the Cubs' arms that they will count on this year. Marquee Sports Network, the television home of the Cubs, will air 17 spring training games this preseason, with the exception of 2 games, March 20th against the LA Dodgers and March 22nd against the Mariners. Those will be on MLB Network. For the 2 split squad days, Marquee will air Thursday's home game against the White Sox. That's the opener, and the April 1st game on the road against the Brewers. How about newest Cub pitcher, well, not really, but starting pitcher Marcus Stroman? He posted on Twitter that he'll make his Cubs debut Friday against the Giants in Scottsdale, Arizona. And manager David Ross also noted that outfielder Harold Ramirez and lefty Braylon Marquez have not yet reported to camp. That is due to travel complications. There's your Cubs news, notes, nuggets, and bullets out of Mesa, Arizona. Thank you for taking the time to join us here today and make us, Locked On Cubs, your first listen every day. We ask that you make your second listen Locked On MLB. Sully, Paul Francis Sullivan, brings you his unique perspective on the major leagues, past and present, free and available wherever you get your favorite podcast, just like Locked On Cubs. So, Seiya Suzuki rumors. Have you heard that? Cubs supposedly met with him the other night. We're going to dive into that later this week and have plenty more action from Mesa, Arizona as Cubs spring training rolls on. This has been Locked On Cubs. Thanks for being with us. I'm Andrew Bellison. We'll see you later in the week.